To add my friend, Dr. Katherine Helms. Let me find her first, real quick, and then we're gonna get started here in a moment. There, there you are, Dr.
Hey,
Helm.
how you doing? Did you put the S on my last name? I
No,
don't have an S.
I've been practicing. I had an S this time. Yeah, there's Janet Helms, from back in the day, and then there's some other Helms, like, I think there's a Miracle Whip or mayonnaise or something like that.
Something
So
like that.
I'm cutting the S off
Thank
officially
you. I
today.
appreciate that. Hmm.
Helm, Dr. Helm, Dr. Helm. It's so good to see you.
How you doing?
I'm doing righteously well today. Thank you so
Look,
much.
we're doing a podcast.
I mean, we've been talking about this since like the 1850s too.
I
You
know.
know,
I
I
know.
know.
Since before we were free.
Before we meat be free.
In quotes.
Well,
In quotes.
we're over here on the Amistad trying to get free.
There you go. Still.
Well, well, this is riffing while black. Uh, my friend here, Catherine Helms, Helm. There I go. There I go. Catherine Helm.
Wait, here's
Uh,
the side eye segment, right? Riffing while black, two minds, one vibe, and an
there you
occasional
go.
side eye. So let
There
me
you go.
practice again.
I mean, I might get more than the required side eyes here,
I mean,
so
you might. You
we're
might.
gonna go with that. But anyhow, this is our first time together, very first episode, and I don't know. I feel like we should talk about what brought us together in the first place. I mean, we've been talking about some version of this for some time, but
Yeah.
what do you want to add?
Well, okay, so I am a psychologist, and so is my friend KP. I'm still practicing. You kick the field to the curb. That's okay, though. I
Sort
mean,
of.
sort of, but once a psychologist, always a psychologist. KP has many different talents, which you'll hear about. And we met through the Association of Black Psychologists in
Okay.
the like 2007-ish. We just figured out.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Ancient
Yeah,
times. Ancient times.
ancient
And
times. Yes.
and at that time, I was married and just had two kids. They were small, they're little babinas.
Yes.
And you were single, and you were
I
like,
was single.
trying to do your thing, working your ass off, like I don't know what. But we
Yeah,
had a good time at the AB-Side, those Association of Black Psychologists
we
conventions.
did.
Yeah,
We did.
I
And
remember.
now I'm married with three kids who are relatively small-ish, right? They're at least double digits. Yeah, and it's a grind, but I love them though.
It is a grind. It is a grind.
It is a
I
grind.
mean,
Yeah.
we love them. What's the phrase about family? You can't pick them and you can't kill
Well, we'll talk about that.
them.
But I'm a practicing psychologist. I see couples and adult individuals, and then I also am a full-time professor where I teach people how to be therapists.
Exactly. And what's funny is that when we actually overlapped because we also I was teaching and seeing clients as well when I was working in universities. But today I'm a consultant, focused on the belonging and inclusion space, working with organizations, whether it be corporate, government, nonprofits, really helping them really build the kind of trust and innovation and collaboration that's necessary for them to be successful. So, been doing that for over, I don't want to say it, 20 years, over 20 years. But
Yeah.
enjoyed, and I was doing it when I was still a practicing clinician, and
Yeah.
decided to transition out of it for a number of reasons.
Now you have a card deck.
Yes, yes, I do, and I'm
Can you
gonna look
tell us
for the
about that?
yes. And good things. We're going to do a little bit of it, not too much, just like maybe
Okay.
two or three cards. But the card deck that I developed that I've been really focusing on, I know it's backwards, we can't switch it, but it's called Jimbe. It's a card deck that's really was intention was back in 2021 was to basically provide a relatively cheap, inexpensive tool so people can have these conversations around race and faith tradition and relationships and all kinds of stuff. And so found it to be really useful. You see it being used in government agencies and nonprofits and for-profit organizations. So I think it's and one of the things we're trying to work on is developing actually an app for it. So hopefully we'll
Mhm.
see that coming in the next several months. So, but thanks for reminding me to speak about that.
Yeah.
Um, with that said, how about we do the card first, and then
Okay.
we'll talk about the topics we're going to focus on today. Is that
Okay.
cool?
That sounds good. I'm ready.
Okay. So this first card, there's three sets of cards. The first set of cards are our grounding cards. Kind of gets us started, kind of gets, sets the tone. And then the second set of cards, which we'll get into in a moment later on, are our engagement cards. It's kind of the 77 cards covering different topics I talked about earlier. The last
Okay.
card, which we'll do at the end, is a celebration card. And we'll only do one of each, but you'll
Okay.
get a sense of the flavor of things. But the first one is our grounding card, and it says, "Speaking my truth might look like blank." Speaking my truth,
Speaking my truth might look like blank. It might look like I'm going to get fired. That's what it'll look like if I speak my truth. Uh-huh.
right?
Mm.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
I mean, that's real. I mean, that's something I know I'm consistently thinking about it. I mean, it's like, we both have a brand that we're trying to support, but sometimes when people kind of really know how we might feel about certain issues, there's certain risks that's associated. But
Yeah.
I don't even want to say more about that.
Well, you know what? I think it's sort of, we're both Black professionals, and you always have to sort of do this calculus in a way, depending on the environment you're in. So you can live your truth,
Hmm.
right? And I think you can speak your truth, but the way that you speak your truth matters depending on who's around.
Right.
Sometimes you just don't give a damn. You're like, psh, right? But it depends.
Well, I mean, there's that old Dave Chappelle skit where he's like one speaking your truth. Speak. I don't think he said it this way, but speaking your truth goes wrong. well, and, and so I mean, there's definitely a way. There's a way of demonstrating respect, but still communicating the truth.
True.
Definitely can be done, and so I definitely hear you. For me, speaking my truth might look like sometimes anger on the surface, but
Mm.
under that is a lot of pain and frustration.
Hmm.
Um, and so, I've been told I can be a little intimidating because I'm just
Oh,
a black
that's
man.
coded. That word is so coded, right? Because
Yeah,
it's coded if you're a Black person. Like that has shown up on teaching evaluations for me, even though I have really good relationships with my students, right? To me, intimidated is a racially coded word. You're intimidating, you're intimidated.
right,
I'm just saying. Hmm.
right. Yeah, matter of fact, I dated this dermatologist once, and we were in some session, and a white woman asked her, said, well, I guess she was talking to both of us. She was asking me, says, she's so talented and smart, and I mean, she just seems she's so intimidating. How do you manage that? How do you deal with that? And my response was, I fully expect her to be that way. Number
How do
one,
you
number
handle
two,
that, KP? How do you manage her competence?
I'm like, I didn't know I was supposed to be managed. No one told me.
Like, girl, how do you manage her confidence? This don't sound like a him issue. It sounds like a her or your issue.
Yeah, so that was a fun time to say the least.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so let's get into the topic. So there's so many things going on.
Okay.
Whether it be government stuff, political stuff. What are some things on your mind that you might want to touch on today?
Well, I think we talked about touching on this in the end of the segment, but I heard a rumor that Nick Cannon is going to have a podcast on relationships. So I would love to talk about that. Like, as we do this, you'll learn our segments. That's our end segment. That's called the side eye segment. So I want to talk about that.
Okay.
You should know, and KP is being very generous with me. I'm sort of informed, but given the three kids and the busyness and all of that stuff, I'm not as informed as I want to be. So I'm, low key, as the Gen Zers say, using the podcast to help keep me informed. So we have a couple topics we're going to talk about, but we can guarantee I'm good with the reactions. But KP, you're probably going to know more about them, just point blank.
We'll see because
Okay.
I'm a work in progress. So yes,
Okay.
we'll try.
All right. Okay.
And I know we said we wanted to talk a little bit about the big beautiful bill that was passed within the last week or so. We also want to talk about, and I think they're directly connected, is how this impacts mental health, particularly Black mental health, and some of the
Yeah.
challenges that people are experiencing.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. Let's start with that. You want to hit
The
it off?
BBB, the triple
Yeah,
B, the big beautiful bill.
yeah.
First of all, the name. Who is it beautiful for?
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm no expert on this, but I did some preliminary research and kind of read some stuff, looked at some stuff. And so I want to sort of try to present a balanced perspective as opposed to my knee-jerk reaction. But
You don't have
um,
to if you don't want to, but it's up to you.
it
Now
looks
it's
like
cool.
there are some pros and cons,
Oh,
but
wow.
I think I want to emphasize that budgets often emphasize our values, right? If you have any means, and I want to be respectful of the fact that everybody has different level of means and resources, but in a big budget like this, given that, our government right now is sort of dominated by one political party, it represents the values that they espouse. And so some of the things that I noticed is sort of the significant increase in things like border control specific to Mexico,
Mhm.
and defense, right? Decreases in educational funding, right? And so I think that some of the values espoused in the bill are clear.
And just to be clear, I think we're going from $3.5 billion for border issues to
Yeah.
$10.5 billion. Something to
Yes.
that effect.
6 billion for US Mexico and border surveillance, I read.
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Which
And
will add a $2.8 trillion deficit by 2034.
yeah,
I
because of
read.
all the tax cuts as well that come with it.
Yes. Yes. And everybody likes to hear about tax cuts, but our police, our fire, our roads, our education, right? A lot of the services that we have are tax based,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it
no.
seems to me, in my uninformed opinion, that this favors high income earners and just guts low income earners.
I mean, that's some of the things that came up during the last several weeks and months. We saw people who were asking questions about, what are taxes going to go up for someone who makes less than 30 grand a year, or
Yeah.
less than 20 grand a year, and they were going up, massively. But the fact that their taxes are going up at all is problematic. But then when they talked about what resources, what what savings, I guess they were going to make for folks who were higher income, was in the hundreds of thousands. It just didn't make sense.
Well, it does make sense if you go by the theory that budgets espouse values. There are values underlying what's important and what gets preference. Like, so gutting healthcare, right? So we just mentioned mental health in general and in particular Black mental health, but mental health care is significantly undervalued in our country. And you and I, since we've kind of been in the trenches with this, see the direct uh, impact of this, the increasing rates of depression, anxiety, suicide, drug addiction, among kids, among, adults. It's, and the fact that there are no provisions for that. Mental health always seems like it's last.
Right. Well, it's always been last because other medical services that people receive was assumed it was going to be taken care of. You break a leg, you're all good, right? If you get sick and need to come in with some medicine, you're all good. But if you have some emotional challenges because you're depressed and you can't get out of the bed and you can't go to
Yep.
work, that's seen as not as valuable. And then the culture has a response like, just suck it up, you know?
Well, just suck it up because it's you, right? There's nothing biological happening. This is said with great sarcasm, right? It must be a deficit in that person. And we're so undereducated about not only the connection between mental health and physical health, right? But how mental health issues can permeate one's very existence and level of functioning. So the fact that it keeps getting left out of things is really disturbing.
Well, I mean, back to the values, right? It's this whole idea that just kind of rugged individualism. We're going to cut back all these resources for folks who might need it because the truth is they're just not working hard enough. They're just not
Right.
smart enough. They're just not. There's some deficit that they need to be held responsible for. And so,
Yeah.
despite the fact that most of the people who are Medicaid and Medicare are children who
Yep.
can't work,
Right.
the story that is told that there are all these lazy people sitting around just kind of,
Yep.
and then of course the image that goes with it is not just lazy people; it's lazy people of color,
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
lazy. It's the immigrants who come in and take our resources and come here for the gifts and presents that we as Americans give them, and ignore the fact that by making
What?
sure that
Which
these
gifts
folks,
are those? Which
huh?
gifts? Which gifts are those?
I don't know. I mean, being here, I guess, is a gift because there's an invasion going on, right?
Is there?
Yeah, yeah, there's an invasion. That's how they justify all this money towards border security is because we're in the middle of an invasion, and so that's why they're able to justify putting the resources they are towards immigration, towards arresting all these people with no due process. I mean, because
Yeah.
basically want to make it as quick as possible to kick folks out of here.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and and back to the mental health stuff, I think it creates an environment, like you said, of values where we just people are on the edge all the time.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and where do we take time to actually talk about the things that you and I are
Yeah.
talking about right now?
Well, I remember sort of, after George Floyd was murdered, right? Just, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, and the racialized stress. So I think that people of color always deal with racialized stress, but, you could just see it on people's faces, right? And now, regardless of how people feel about immigration policies and things like that, ripping children out of classrooms, and off the street, these are people,
Yes,
right? They're human beings, you
right.
know. Um, and I don't purport to know what a better way is except for to treat people like human beings. And so even though, people are like, well, it's not happening to me, but it's happening to another human being. And regardless of how you feel, we're all connected in some way. Would you want to be treated that way?
And I guess the hard part for me is like that makes sense what you just described as treating all people, but there's this, language that we're hearing from some people who, if you're not a citizen, you're a second class human.
Right.
There's certain rights or privileges that you're not a spouse. Even though our Constitution says that you should treat all people a certain way. There's this belief that there's the citizens and then there's everyone else, and
Yeah.
even and then your citizenship can be questioned in some way or another if you behave in ways that are not consistent with whatever political kind of waves that are going on
Yeah.
today, which is total nonsense because that's the whole point of freedom of speech is to share your ideas even if they're ones you don't particularly like.
Well, they're saying, you only get freedom of speech if you're an American citizen. That's my guess, right? But, in terms of kind of looping it back into mental health, when you see people being ripped off the streets, right? That has an impact on everyone.
Well, it's violence, right? It's a violent experience where people are traumatized. They don't feel like they can leave their homes. They don't know if they can
Yeah.
go to the grocery store because they're being picked up at Hobby Lobby and Home Depot and Costco. I'm like,
Yeah.
and thing is, I don't think about it because that's not something that impacts my life in the same way. But I'm waiting to see where I'm hanging out at Costco or Home Depot to pick up something. I don't know, plywood, and then now they're going chasing after people. Now, some of
Hmm.
us are used to that because we're used to the presence of police in some of our neighborhoods. We're used to
Right.
them policing us, over policing us, I should say.
Yeah.
But this is, I think, what's different about this is that people are seeing it in spaces they're not accustomed to seeing it. And again, that
Sure.
has a direct impact on our mental health because our sense of safety is
Yeah.
changed. My hope is that now that people are seeing the public nature of it all, that
Hmm.
they'll be like asking questions like, so why exactly are we spending money on all this? And why are we going after my friend Rosa, who I've known for 15 years, who's been here most of her life, who's a hard worker, who hasn't committed any crimes that I'm aware of. So why are we chasing after her?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have confidence, right, in the consistent treating humans like humans. I just don't know if I have confidence that there will be. I hope so. I mean, I really hope so. But it is when we other people consistently, we make them not like ourselves, which allows the poor treatment to continue, right?
Right,
You might not treat people in your family this way, but it's okay to, if when you other someone, you make them not human, then it justifies poor treatment of human beings.
right. Well, we come up with a rationale. I mean, and I think this what's a challenge about this is that we've seen this. This is not new, right? Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about how we've had these experiences throughout our history as a country where we find ways to justify slavery. We
Yeah.
justify the mean treatment of people like today because they're illegals who are, even the language of illegal versus
Illegal. Yep.
undocumented, right?
Yep.
All that's to create an environment where people feel like, who are these people coming in and being like? I mean, and I should say, this is not just a conservative talking point. There's people, everyday folks who run on both sides of the political kind of spectrum who
Yep.
express like worries about what are these folks doing here and why are they getting all the goodies and I think the problem is that a lot of us are ill informed about what's
Hmm.
really going on. We don't know that
Yeah.
they're paying taxes.
Right. Right. Well, and it's easy to be ill-informed because, AI now thinks for us and, different things show up on our feed. So we're being depending on how you initially express your belief, we're being steered toward certain things that impact what you know. We
Oh,
don't
and
even own our own knowledge.
no. Well, I mean, even if you did own it at some point, they have people who are downloading people's books and
I
information.
know. I
So
know. It's nuts. It's
it's
nuts.
insane.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
directly connected to this idea of mental health and how when dealing with the government and how it's impacting us. As you are, I know, aware, here in Central Texas, we had a huge natural disaster
Yeah.
in a small town called Kerrville, Texas, which is about 2 hours west of Austin. And the reason
Hmm.
I want to bring it up in this context of mental health, because whether you were actually there and experiencing the trauma of those, we in this community, I don't know many people who don't know someone who somehow is indirectly or directly connected to what happened over there. And the reason I think it's really frustrating because one, it's something that could have easily been prevented. They have
Hmm.
over 100 people who have died. They have over, I believe, 100 people who are still missing. And for something when apparently I hate to laugh because I'm only smiling because it's ridiculous. $10 million came from the Biden administration to that community to pay for an early warning system, and they did not. They didn't deny it. They just denied it for the purposes of what the money was for. Instead, they used the money to pay for police resources and pay and stuff like that. And I guess the part that's even harder for me is that when you look at some of the videos of people who are basically saying, "Well, we got a devil in the White House. That's why we're not going to take this money." They're a bunch of communists, and so this is same kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Let's use this rationale to justify not taking money and doing actually the smart thing, which is to make sure that not just their own community, but the visitors to your town are
Yeah.
safe if a natural disaster hits.
Yeah.
And it's just been, I'll be honest, I have more than a few friends who it's just rocked their boat, especially initially because, they had nieces and nephews and family members who were missing. And
Oh.
it was god awful. And
Yeah.
to me, that's a good example of where government plays a role
Yeah.
to provide safety and security for folks, and it's ignored for political reasons. When in actuality, and now because of that, it's having a dramatic impact on people's lives, right, as
Yeah.
we speak.
Yeah. Well, it's the lack of care for human suffering, right? Like and part of our podcast is going to be on deeper issues, and then we're going to do some lighter things. But the concern is when did we, not when did we stop caring about, because there are different segments of society who still care, but the less we care about one another, the worse this gets. The less we see each other's humanity, the worse it gets, right? Regardless of the political affiliations of those people, people died, children died, people are hurting. Right. This is not, because I've seen some stuff about like, well, you voted this way, therefore I'm like, absolutely not. Right. So the less we care about other people, the worse it gets. Like, I don't know. I just think, KP, we all have a responsibility to give a damn, even when we're exhausted.
Right. Even when exhausted, because there's been talk since the election that black women in particular are done. You're out there,
Oh,
you're on your own, and I,
I
I
kind
get
of,
it,
I
but I
kind
don't
of
get it.
get it.
I kind of get it,
Oh,
but then I get it, and then I see the things happening today with what happened in with Kerrville. I mean, and to be clear, it wasn't just Kerrville in that county out there. It had that flood impacted even as close to Austin. We had people in Travis County who were impacted by it.
yeah.
Actually, I want to say under 10 people maybe have lost their lives. But I don't know. I don't know. It's dramatic, and it's dramatic and traumatic at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just I wish more could be done. And I guess the only point I wanted to make is this: I think a majority of people do care. I think a lot of even the people who voted for Trump, and the presumption is they just don't care about other people. I actually think a lot of those people care. I think the challenge is you had some people who just didn't want to vote. They thought they were voting for something different and special. For
Hmm.
the economy was the excuse that they gave. Now,
Hmm.
my personal belief that's a lot of bull. I think there was a lot of racism and sexism going on that led to people's votes. But I don't know if that means they didn't care, which I think is a
Hmm.
separate issue. Does that make sense?
I mean, I don't know if we'll know, right? But I hope that if people don't like some of the things going on, like supporting people around natural disasters, right? You know, caring about one another, caring about human beings. And I'm not Pollyanna, you know, I'm
Hmm.
not, right? But, you know, in some ways, when you become a therapist, you deeply care about people and you use your caring to connect to other people and give a damn about their pain and what they're going through, right? And you don't shut that off when you're not seeing a client. Like you still care deeply about people. So, well, we may have to continue talking about this and pick this one up.
Yeah, definitely want to pick that up. I'm just
Yeah.
making sure I'm hitting all the waves here so folks get to say hello and all that good stuff and say a response. So let's we can still talk about some certain things, but I want to do is do one of the engagement cards if that's okay with you.
Okay. I'm ready to be engaged.
Let me see. There's 77 cards, but I'm gonna just pick one.
Okay.
Um, Here we go. Three ways I encourage those around me are blank, blank, and blank. Three ways I
Three ways
encourage.
I encourage those around me are blank and blank. Oh, that I encourage other people?
Yeah,
Oh,
you go first.
this is easy because
Hmm.
I am drawn to people's potential. So I validate them, uplift them, and I am excited for them
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
their own personal journey. Now, you
that
know, you got
energy.
to answer that.
Well, I'll be honest. When I think about this card about encourage, I work out at least 3 times a week with a friend of mine. Her name is Sarah, and we had different strength levels, but we're there to support one being accountable by showing up. Number one, and so I think that's encouraging by just showing up. Sometimes it's just being there is half the battle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
The
yeah.
second thing, and it is 7 o'clock in the morning when this is happening, but I don't care. I come in there hype. I'm like, yo, let's go, let's do this, baby. Let's hit them weights. And so I come in
I
with
might
lots of
have to
energy.
kill you. I might have to kill
And,
you.
and so she's just drinking it. She's sipping on her tea, like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Um, but I think also the third part is bringing positive energy, not in a kind of Pollyannish way or overly positive, like, oh, the world is just gonna. Because the truth is, there's plenty of really bad things going on.
yeah,
But in
yeah.
this moment today, I am so glad to be with you.
Hmm.
Despite all the challenges, I'm so glad to have my friendship with you. I'm so glad to, feel like I can have this space with you because there is a lot of really messed up
Wait, in
things
the
going.
chat, someone's like, "Do you annoy her?" Yes, but she's probably too kind to say something. No, I'm just kidding. I don't
I
know. I don't
mean,
know.
I know I'm annoying. That's not the issue. The energy is to bring the energy. Bring
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And
Well, because energy is contagious.
right,
Positive
because now
energy is, negative energy is. Yeah,
because here we are hitting these weights, and if the next, I mean, this as a psychologist, if you come in negative, your ability to lift the weights is diminished. Your ability to get
it's
through the
true.
workout, and then after a period of time, you're like, why are we even doing this?
Uh, yeah. I mean, although I'm definitely a gym goer, and I got my coffee, and I'm down in my basement doing my thing, and whether I'm positive or negative, I'm just happy that I got up and did it.
So you're a
Sometimes,
coffee.
sometimes, KP, you just got to be happy that you did it.
Yes, this is true. Now you're a coffee drinker.
Yes.
Well, I've been on
Was
the
that a
dating.
look of judgment or
There's no,
disdain?
no judgment. I'm about to reflect on the judgment that is directed towards me.
Because you
I
should
feel like a
reflect
victim.
upon the research that says coffee is so good for you.
Yeah, but I'm the victim here in this situation with this
Okay.
downer. because since I've been back on the dating scene, because one of the beautiful things about my ex is that she didn't drink coffee, I didn't drink coffee, so it was never a thing. But
Okay.
now that I'm on the dating scene, literally first thing out the box, I like to start my Sundays with like, a little bit of coffee and a
Are
walk and
you like
then
making fun? Are you making
yes, I
fun?
am. I'm
Oh,
making fun. And then
okay.
they're
We
like,
we
and then
we we coffee drinkers don't need y'all. We're good. Like we're good. And
and then
there's
they're
a lot
like,
of research that talks about the number of antioxidants in
oh, there
coffee
you
and
go.
how good it is and how it contributes to to longevity. Nope. See, look,
No,
now you're giving me side eye.
alcohol has a lot of benefits too.
What?
Fresh air has lots of benefits too. And then they're like, then they find out I don't drink coffee, and they're like, you
We
don't
can't be together. They're like, we can't be together. No,
I
they're
can't
like,
believe
this is a fundamental values difference. Yeah.
I can't believe that you don't drink coffee. Are you human?
I know. Yeah. Okay.
So
We're gonna
yeah,
have
I'm
to,
guilty. I'm a victim here.
huh. Huh.
But
Well,
let's see.
okay. So
Okay.
I got a topic I want to bring up.
Yes, this is the side eye section. Let's do it.
Okay. Nick Cannon's podcast.
Has it started yet?
I don't know. I don't think it has. I
It
don't
don't
think it
matter.
has. So I'm not trying to throw shade at Nick Cannon.
I'm
Other
throwing
people have
shade.
already done that. But just some background. Nick Cannon has, I believe, 12 children, and he
Yeah.
has six partners. And his podcast is going to be on relationships. And here's my question. Okay. So it's not that I don't feel like you have to go to school to have knowledge about
Of course
relationships.
not. Of course not.
But oftentimes, the people who get the most press about relationships are the people where it hasn't gone well, right? And sort of those of us professionally trained to help people in the relationships, our voices get sidelined, right? And so, come on now, he got this podcast, or he's doing this podcast. Help me understand.
But you know why? You know why this is because you know I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Cannon, but he does have a personality. He
He
has a
does
he is he
that make you an
I,
expert in? I mean, come on.
yes, but people are drawn to him for some reason. And
Huh?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm confused by him. Let's be clear. The fact that he's supposed to be a comedian type, I don't get that part. The fact that he's supposed to be some kind of like musical connection somehow or another. I just thought he was an actor. I still watch Drumline from back in the day.
Drumline.
And
Yes,
like Drumline, let's
Drumline.
focus on that.
Yes.
But then all of a sudden he had. I mean, he's been married what 3 times or I don't
Well, he
know.
was married to Mariah Carey. I didn't keep track after that, right?
We all knew
Um,
that wasn't gonna last, right?
I mean, I don't want to make a judgment on relationships, but I can only imagine that would have been a difficult relationship.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best we can say.
The faces say it all. The faces say it all. Yeah. Yeah. But, even like, so all these people have podcasts on relationships, right?
Right,
And I think the thing to remember is everybody gives advice, right? Therapists actually
right,
don't give much advice. Like we're trained to not give advice. You
right,
know,
right,
you have to take what fits you and throw the rest away because
right,
people often give advice based on their own experience. And I hope that therapists give advice based on literature and training,
right,
if you
right,
give advice, which we're not really supposed to be doing that,
right.
but his voice will resonate. Steve Harvey's voice resonates about relationships. All these people's voices resonate about relationships, but the professional voices get lost. And I do think that relationships are some of the most important things that we do, and we struggle to do them well because it's hard.
Well, I think part of the challenge is that some of the personalities I think would be helpful to have these conversations, particularly from professionals like you and I in my past, would be helpful to get those personalities out there because I think the Steve Harveys in the world and the Nick Cannons of the world is because they bring their brand, they bring their personality, they bring
Yeah.
humor. And so I think sometimes they think of therapy as kind of boring and whatever, and some of it is. I mean, maybe a great majority is. I would love to see more people who are like in your profession who are coming out to have these same kinds of conversations. And so for me, it would be a Nick Cannon with a clinician or a counselor,
Yeah,
right?
maybe I
So
need
it's not by
to
mistake.
call him up. Be like, hey, Mr.
Say, Nikki,
Cannon.
hey,
Hey,
oh,
hey,
it's all
Mr.
Cannon,
Cannon.
Mr.
Psychologist
Cannon.
here, work with couples. Let me
I
help
mean, I think
you.
it'll be a nice contrast, right? I mean,
I mean,
and he can still have his opinions. And the thing is, there's value in lived experience, right? And
there
if he
is.
can say, "I've been through all these situations, and I got 12 kids," and there's probably something really great about him as well. I mean, people can be judgmental towards him, but I imagine there's some value that he'll bring to the table. I just
Sure.
wish he would do it with someone else who might have a little bit more expertise in the space.
Yeah.
And I know people don't like that in this day and age. Expertise sounds like a bad word,
Yeah.
but it
And
would be
he
nice.
will, right? But I do feel like, oftentimes when the pat answer doesn't work, right, then people often sort of internalize that and blame themselves, as
Right.
opposed to going to see somebody, a therapist, right, who is trained to help you, right, and help your relationship and help you understand some of the nuances and some of the things that you
Right.
bring, right? Like
Right.
those are powerful experiences. Right. And this is why I'm passionate as a couples therapist, because I feel
Mhm.
like what people think couples therapy is and what it actually is, and the show Couples Therapy, I'm a huge fan, um, shows you more of what it is. But, people come in real painful positions and it can help you sort all that out
Right.
as
Right. And
opposed
it's,
to like, yeah, go ahead.
no, no. I mean, I think no. I also agree with you. Please continue.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I think podcasts can be helpful and other things can be helpful, right? But getting to work with somebody on your relationship, right, with somebody trained, who can understand the nuances of yours as opposed to relationships in general, can be a very powerful experience.
Right. Right. Yeah, I was just reading a comment from a person online. She says, with couples too, because there will always be folks who discredit clinician because they do not understand or appreciate their expertise.
Yeah,
And, and let's also be honest. I think people have also had some negative experiences in therapy because there's some folks
fair.
out there. I mean, we're both black psychologists, right? Part of the reason I got into psychology as a clinician because I knew there's some therapists out there doing some really bad work, harming
Yeah,
black and brown folks and women,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And so they have these negative experiences, or even if you're a person who really believes in therapy, but you haven't found the right therapist because there isn't
fair.
the connection, right?
The
And so
connection. Yeah,
and unfortunately, I don't know, I don't think those are the majority of people's experiences, but they're
yeah.
enough. They're a critical
They are
mass,
not. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but not every therapist can work with every couple or client, right?
Right.
And vice versa. And if you don't feel a connection in that first session, maybe two, fire them, get somebody else.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
should feel a connection in the first, maybe second session, but I
Mhm.
say the first, but one or two, and then just don't go back. It is okay,
It
right?
is.
Like, not every therapist is for you. Get somebody else.
Hey, I've been fired so many times when I was a clinician because I work primarily, my work was in the university settings, right? And so you get these
Yeah,
students coming in, they're depressed, they have a lot of anxiety, they're dealing with I did a lot of relationship stuff. And they come in
sure.
and they're getting the things off their chest, and then I don't see
Yeah.
them. I'm like, oh, I just got fired. I got fired. They ain't coming back.
I don't get fired often. But I think that's sort of the nature of I'm working with folks that are older. I did the college scene. I did that, and oftentimes with college students, you're working with semesters and trimesters.
Yes.
So,
In very
you
different
know,
circumstances, right? They
it is.
usually are limited like to 2 to 4, maybe 6 sessions total. And a lot of
Yeah,
people, in all honesty, they're coming in for symptom relief, like to
true.
get confirmation that no, that was messed up. And you know what? That panic attack, it wasn't a heart attack, but okay, you affirmed that what I just learned when I went to the emergency room. Stuff like that.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
necessarily end of life kind of stuff, but it's still critical to where they are at that particular time.
Wait, one of the comments is in the chat is like, it's like dating. What a great analogy. I
Yeah,
love it, right? It
yeah.
is like dating, right? Where you see if there's a connection and that makes you decide if you want to go forward. And it should be like that with a physician. It
Hmm.
should be like that with a therapist. Like, don't just go to somebody who you don't have a connection with. It won't actually work.
Right, and I think that's important to be a savvy consumer because you're receiving a service and you want to know and have confidence because you're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important for folks to do their research, But I sometimes think that it kind of works out kind of like with if you're looking for a mechanic, the word of mouth is really, really powerful, right? And
It is.
so if I know, if you know, I've had people come to me and say, "Hey, Kazique, do you know anyone?" I'm like, there was a time I knew a lot more therapists than I do
Yeah,
currently, but I have like a handful of people who I'm like, yeah, this is my person. Go
yeah,
see him. It's not a guarantee, but I have confidence, and people
true,
need to have those kind of connections, right?
true.
I think it works in therapy. I'm not taking any more recommendations for people to date me. Um, um, I've had too many people say, I know someone. She's so sweet and she's so beautiful, and blah. I'm like, no, I'm not taking no more referrals.
That's
I'm
going to be
done.
in our next episode. We're going to talk about that.
No, no more referrals. Is that the theme? No more referrals?
Well, and to be fair, I'm in Illinois in the Chicago area.
Okay.
Every therapist I know is full. So people are using therapy. I
There.
think in younger generations, it is becoming more common. People are
Yes.
talking about it more, which is
Yes.
great for our field, but it makes it even more important that you find somebody who you're connected to. It can be very, very helpful with the right person.
Hearing, and I don't know how true it is, so I don't know the data. But I've been hearing, particularly with young people, they've been using ChatGPT as their therapist to get
I
information.
heard that. I was kind of hoping our field would be one where we couldn't get replaced, and people are like, it makes me feel better. And I'm like, damn. I mean, good, but there's not where's the human connection? I'm not trying to crap on AI. Like I
No,
definitely think
no,
it has
no.
its place, but you know, once it runs out of those responses, then what happens? I guess we're gonna find out.
Well, this is why I want to believe is what's happening for some folks. What I want to believe is that it's like going to your minister, not for therapy, but for advice, information. Because before you had to go look up on some web page to find out information, and now this ChatGPT is using the content to give you responses that maybe in the short term provide some symptom relief, like we said
Yeah.
earlier, right? You
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that is messed up, and you know what, the way they talked to me was messed up, So you get some of that. My question is, and I think I've tried out some of the ChatGPT to get a sense of it, just to kind of figure it out. But some of the ChatGPT systems do get to a point of saying, "Hey, here's some advice. Here's some things to think about. Here's some
Hmm.
reflection for you." One of them oftentimes is, "Have you thought about going to a therapist?"
Oh, well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Because I don't think, I mean, the piece that people miss about therapy is there's healing.
Yes.
Right. Like, there's a collaborative relationship that helps you heal from some of the
Yes.
things that you've gone
Yes.
through, not just symptom relief. That's important, but that's only
Right.
going to go so far. Right. Not just, okay, problem solved.
Right.
Right. Or coping skills. Right.
Right.
There's
Right.
a deeper part of it with a good therapist.
Right.
Right. Where there is healing.
Right. Well, because for
Yeah.
a lot of people, it's almost like a reparenting. It's noticing patterns and creating new patterns for yourself,
Exactly.
and that
Yeah.
takes time. And I think that's what people don't understand about therapy is that the whole point of it is that we have patterns that we've. I mean, I'll give you one example. Uh, being anxious about getting on planes. It was just something I didn't have a lot of experience with. I would get on them and would freak out. If I want to create a situation where I'm not repeating those kinds of patterns, I do things ahead of time to prepare for my flight. Right? There's things I do when I'm on the plane. So
Yeah.
I'm resetting things in such a way. So I still have anxiety, but I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not controlled by the anxiety that maybe I
Yeah.
experienced before. So,
Yeah.
and you learn that oftentimes in therapy, that you give you different things because not everything works, right? Some people do the whole deep breathing. I'm like, I ain't deep breathing. All that
That does not work for
and
you. Yeah.
squares and stuff,
Yeah.
holding my breath. Come on now.
That works for some people, though.
Some people
That works
does,
for some
right?
people.
But
Yeah,
but you try out different things to see what fits and what lands, and once you find it, you go
exactly.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we sure have riffed the hell out of this today, huh? We went
Yes.
from the big, beautiful bill. We looked at the card deck. We talked about Nick Cannon. We talked a little bit about mental health. We have all these topics. We're definitely riffing today.
Yes. So I want to wrap it up with our celebration
Okay.
card. Okay.
Okay. All right.
This is what I'm going with today. A way I stayed engaged today was blank. A way I
Ooh,
stayed engaged today was blank. I'll be honest. The way I stayed engaged with you was one, spending time listening to your ideas and stuff. That helped me really kind of sit with it and stuff. But also, earlier in my preparation, I was just someone asked me, "So are you excited about doing it?" I'm like, "Actually, yeah." Because, and I'll say this, you know this, we've known each other quite a long time, but we actually
We have.
don't get as much time to kind of spend time and hang out and
Yep.
talk. And when we do, we talk, and then a year or two might go by. And so I'm
Right.
excited about the opportunity, and I think that helped me stay engaged
Oh,
within my.
thank you. Yeah, and for me, I would say, the same. Obviously, we met all those years ago, and through kids and all this stuff, we connect, and then all these things. I think I'm excited about this because it allows me to really we've always been able to put our heads together and come to some new understanding about various topics. You only got a little side eye today. You didn't get a whole lot. There will be more side eye in future podcasts, but I think it's easy to stay engaged when you're learning new things and new perspectives about different topics, which is one of the things that I love to do.
Yeah.
As well as just, sometimes just riff and make stuff up.
Is there going to be any rapping in the future for us, from either one of
Is
us?
there what?
Any rapping? Are we going to be beatboxing or rapping?
Oh yeah, no, that's not for me. I appreciate the art form, but you don't want me to you don't want me to do that. I know
Okay.
my skill sets. I will stay in my lane. Thank you.
I might sing for you one day. I
Okay,
didn't
I
say
want to hear it.
well. I just said I might sing.
Okay. All right, viewers, stay tuned to that.
Maybe I want to. Well, hey, that's going to wrap us up. Thank you so much, Dr. Helm, Katherine Helm, my
Yes,
friend
you
in
got my name right.
Chicago,
Yes.
Illinois. And this is Riffing While Black. We will be returning every Thursday, as long as we can stand it, every Thursday at noon. Uh, and catch us also. We'll see I guess, a copy of this or video for
Yeah.
this on Instagram, but also on YouTube and Substack as well. So
Yes. And please grab some friends, join the comments, let us know your thoughts. The more the merrier. So,
exactly, exactly.
all right,
All right,
KP,
man.
until next week. More
Take it
side
easy.
eye. Okay. Bye.
Take care.